on? I think. Are we on? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Talk Podcast. We're here once again with Kathy Biehl, professional Aquarian astrologer. And we are making a special show. And is that your dragon?
Yes, this is a dragon in honor of the eclipse. My comfort dragon, Dexter.
Oh, good. Oh, whoa. If we need our stuffed dragons or our stuffed teddy bears, it's going to be maybe a rough ride, but that can be a good thing, shaking things up. So what we're going to discuss in this special show is the upcoming eclipses. We have two in a row. We have a solar eclipse. We go into the sign of Taurus on Thursday. Is that correct?
Right after the solar eclipse, yes.
Oh, okay. And then on May 5th, is it? We have a lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse. And we want to look at how we can expect to feel personally and what to expect on the national stage, maybe the international stage too. So you have a couple of people whose charts you have available for us to kind of take a little look at.
Yes, I've got those too. But I'll start with just in general, how to approach this if you want, because I think it might help.
Yeah.
We're at a really interesting point with eclipses this week. Now, you'll see everybody online going on, eclipses, eclipses. All right, look, they're natural. They happen every year. They reset a particular area of life, and they go on for a couple of years in a certain area of your chart. We're at the pivot point between eclipses that have to do with resources and eclipses that have to do with what I call the complex challenge of balancing you against somebody else, the me versus you axis. Fun fact, the eclipses that are wrapping up in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio have predominantly been lunar eclipses, which are supercharged full moons, which bring things to a really crazy crest. There's lots of revelations and major chapter closings. The eclipses that are starting in the signs of Aries and Libra are mostly solar eclipses, which are supercharged new moons, which set things in motion like you're hitting a power up in Mario Kart, or like your computer system is going down and somebody's installing a new operating system. You didn't make it happen. You wake up and like, what is this? Everything's dark, comes back up, something's different. That's the analogy for a solar eclipse. What's fascinating this week is we have the first eclipse in this next group in Aries and Libra, but it's the pivot point between the two types of eclipses because it's happening at the very end of Aries, 10 minutes away from Taurus. Now, not minutes like the clock, it's a measurement. So it's as maximum Aries as it can get, and yet the sun immediately slides into Taurus. So this is pulling them together, and this is incredibly intense. It's there's a wild card element to any eclipse. This one has a real edge to it because it's making a hard contact to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, I've been saying Pluto is at the doorway to the future. Pluto now through the early part of June, giving us a coming attractions trailer of what life is going to be like through 2044, with big changes in how power is aligned, among many things. So there's this real, like someone's thrown flame accelerant into this already maximum fiery life force exploding in everybody. And it's the most unpremeditated expression of Aries energy, which generally nobody send me hate mail here, but generally really raw Aries energy doesn't take other people into account. It simply acts. This is shoot first, ask questions later. If you even bother to ask questions, it's leap and then, oh, did I just do something? And then deal with it. And It's powered by the Lord of the Underworld, which rules everything that's deep, dark within us that doesn't make any sense. So there's a who cares? What do I have to lose element to a lot of what people are going to be doing. A lot of people are going to be set off by subconscious forces that they won't be able to explain. This can be really exciting and empowering, okay? You're catapulting into another way of being, and it's not a one-day event. It plays out over months. And as soon as it happens, Mercury goes retrograde in one of the slowest possible forms. So there's a real strong hurry up and wait streak to this as well. Evidence of that, Southwest Airlines grounded all of its flights today.
Yeah, for a little while.
Perfect.
I mean, they went. I think they went.
They went back up, but it's, you know, SpaceX paused its launch. It's that kind of thing, like stop and look at the details and then zoom on.
Okay, so I wanted to just ask you, you said we're closing or having closure with some eclipses that have already occurred for the rookies like me. What does it mean that we're having close? Is that what you said? Closure on.
Well, no, this earlier cycle. This year we have eclipses in 2 pairs of signs. Last year we only had them in 1 pair of signs.
So when you say pairs of signs,
signs that are opposite each other. We've been having eclipses for the last couple of years in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, which are the money signs.
Last year, as I recall, it seemed like every time I turned around, we were having another eclipse. Are there more in some years than others?
Yeah, sometimes there's 6, sometimes there's 4.
What was the last time we had 6 eclipses in a year?
It's been in the last few years.
I don't know, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it just seemed like we had a lot of eclipses. Maybe it was some other things that were going on astrologically.
There's always.
Last
and lately
year.
it feels like,
you know, all crazy hell was breaking loose. Now, when you speak about the Aries energy, that spontaneous, that not thinking before acting, as far as I'm concerned, we've been in that. So is this going to... I don't want to concern people too much. Is this going to make that more intense?
Essentially, yes, we have been in it. Jupiter, which expands everything it touches, has been in Aries. Our core wound is in Aries. That's Chiron. The U.S. is on its way to its Chiron return. And it's been in Chiron for a few years. Right now, we've had a particularly high number of bodies in the sign of Aries. And now, as the sun is about to move out of Aries, and soon Jupiter also out of Aries, so spoiler, it's going to start calming down in May. It will.
No way.
But the point is that right now, it's like all of this is like culminating in one huge fireball.
And that's Aries.
That's fed by everything that's been going on. So
Aries is the sign is ruled by the planet Mars, which is the planet of war. Right?
And war, aggression, and right now it's in the sign of Cancer, which is fighting for things you love, fighting for the home front, fighting for your notion of country.
That seems kind of opposing too, in the sense that, you know, war, like home feels safe, preferably home feels like where we can kind of settle down, but to have that sort of almost combative energy happening seems a little unsettling.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, you know, and it does feel like things have been so unsettling, and things have been just on the news front, so just out of nowhere, you don't know what's going to happen next, and just there's a real fast clip to the news and to things changing. And does that have to do with something that's going on now astrologically, or is it just my perception?
I'm not going to undercut your perception, but what you're picking up on is activity involving Uranus, who is an unpredictable change agent.
Yeah,
He's
that's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, and Uranus has been in the mix with a lot of things that have been going on. Uranus has been dancing with all of the full moons since last October. So every time there's been an emotional culmination, there has been a Uranian element to it, either upending something or simply making it uncomfortable or uh, breaking things apart or birthing aha moments. Uranus is now back where it was when the midterms happened. So there's a flipping of a lot of things that looked like they were going one way in November. And my example of that is several elected Democrats announcing that they've switched to the GOP. So it looked like it was going one way. Nope, went another, but it could always happen in the other direction too.
Yeah.
And then Uranus is still a factor in the lunar eclipse that's happening in May. So you have to kind of look at these together. And this will also address what you were saying about wrapping up. So for about 2 years, we have been having eclipses in the spring, in the fall, bringing up issues of what's been happening with money, about values, about investments, about things going on in the background, about corruption, about crime, all that kind of stuff. And there are 2 more eclipses in that group. One of them is the one in May, and one is at the end of October. These are both lunar eclipses, so they're both shutting chapters, like going to shut this volume, put it away, shut this volume, put it away. So at the same time that we are cleaning up a lot of things having to do with money, values, corruption, dark money, you name it, we're already shooting into the new direction with the eclipse now in Aries, and then in September, there will be one in Libra. So right now, the I am end of the relationship seesaw is getting firepower. In October, the okay, how do we get along, and let's have some new agreements about people's relationship rule books gets the fire, gets the oomph in September.
So Aries' motto is I am, right? And maybe that sort of unpredictable energy, that fast moving and disruptive energy that I was attributing to eclipses was more Uranus.
Well, we do feel eclipses in advance, and they are volatile. So I'm not going to say that isn't a factor. There's always volatility. Something always leaves. There's always instability. Even on a solar eclipse, something leaves to make room for something new. I had a client once with a solar eclipse in her career house, and her job ended. Like, what? But she got booted out and went off and did something, so
to
much
make
better.
way for expansion, something bigger and better. So it sounds like there's a little bit of an element of kind of like when you're moving, your house is in shambles, where it's all like a mess, and then that's the Uranus, and then you start picking it up and cleaning things up to move to the next thing. That's the kind of feeling I get around what you're saying about the eclipse coming up. Is that sort of accurate?
So yeah, that would fit it.
Yeah.
And know that very, very shortly after it, immediately after it, the sun moves into Taurus,
Right.
which is, give me my flowers. I want to sniff them. Where are my chocolates? Get out of my way. This is my food. I'm going to just sit here and sunbathe kind of energy. And then Jupiter in the middle of May follows and moves into Taurus. And there's just going to be, yes, there's still going to be craziness. We're not going to suddenly wake up in La La Land, but there'll be more of a sense of, okay, the ground isn't moving all the time.
Oh, that would be lovely. That'd be a nice change. We can just sit around and like look at the tulips and the daffodils and have a picnic and feel grounded in that Taurus energy. Now, what's the impact of Mercury going retrograde on Friday on the heels of this eclipse and the shift into the sign of Taurus? I was wondering if you could speak to the Mercury retrograde in general, that configuration. For decades now, I've met people that absolutely panic when Mercury's going retrograde, and I don't know where that started, why people get so freaked out, and then it's a nice sort of default that people use too. That's, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to call you because it's Mercury's retrograde, right? I hear that a lot, and I don't feel that way about Mercury retrograde. I've never felt like oh, this is terrible. Like, I'm really scared. Mercury's going to go retrograde for 3 weeks, which it does a few times a year, right?
3 or 4 times a year, Mercury is retrograde. And then other planets go retrograde. So here's some ways.
How do you describe like that sort of perception of Mercury going retrograde? I'm sure you've heard that too.
I think that my guide at Om Times about Mercury retrograde talks about this, the sky is falling mentality that has dogged it. And so here's a way of looking at it. It's just going to draw more attention to things having to do with communication systems, and how you get around. And when Mercury as a whole doesn't deal really well when it's in an earth sign. And so when it moves into Taurus, which is the first earth sign, it's like the slowest of the slow. And then when it goes retrograde, it's like double slow. So here's what's good about it. First off, you will have many opportunities and a lot of incentive to actually pay attention to the words floating in front of you, to the words in your mouth, in your head, to what's coming out of your mouth. And they're probably going to have a strong practical tint to them, because Taurus is it's sensual, it's earthy, it deals with the here and now.
Grounded.
So, and it's also one of the signs in the eclipses that are wrapping up. So we might get information about
certain things that we'll go into very shortly.
Yes, but things about in your own life, okay? Stuff you overlooked or didn't finish or maybe dropped,
right.
And it's an excellent time for doing research, for finishing things you didn't finish, and for going back over old stuff. So
yeah.
And if there is a flaw in the system, it's going to break. All right. It's just, yeah. For a while I would keep a Mercury watch and just have lists of everything breaking. And then I thought, you know what? I am emphasizing this too much. I put too much attention to this.
If they break, then they're probably up for being fixed anyway, Yes. So it's a good time. I've done recording, like redoing vocal tracks during a Mercury retrograde. I've done a lot of like going inward and writing, and when things feel a little bit like they're not moving that fast, we're in a Mercury retrograde, I like to take advantage of that. So I'm a little bit interested in erasing this misconception, this negative idea of Mercury retrograde being a bad thing, because it can really be a good thing. We don't really get to experience real richness and appreciate things unless things slow down. And it doesn't sound like they're going to slow down a ton with
maybe
this
just our thinking.
Aries. Yeah. The Aries energy from the solar eclipse. It's a solar eclipse tomorrow. So that could be that actually feels comforting to me in a way. Being in Taurus, the sun in Taurus during a Mercury retrograde, you can really, like, if you're into gardening, it can feel real like, oh, I'm just hanging out in my garden, and it's the sun's in Taurus, and Mercury retrograde, there's not much going on anyway, because I find the business kind of slows down in general during a Mercury retrograde. It's not a time of rush and get things done, to me.
No, and so 2 things to watch for. One is people tend to come back from the past. And this could be in your thinking. You could just wake up and be thinking about someone. With social media, you could catch wind of them. You might actually have a real world contact.
And I've had that happen.
And that can be a very interesting experience. And the one big caution I will give everyone is, do not assume that you and somebody else in a conversation are operating from the same assumptions, particularly if you're trying to make an agreement, because you could be using absolutely the same words, and they might have a different meaning in your personal dictionary. So err on the side of sounding like an idiot, like
slow it down.
Let me tell you what I mean by this.
Repeat back when you're in communication, and don't think you really understood what somebody said, it's always okay to just say, now, what you mean, what I heard you say was, that's a good kind of a tactic for Mercury retrograde time.
Especially if you think you know what they said. That's my point.
Yeah.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I entered into a lease with somebody once who wanted me to respect her privacy. I was perfectly fine with that. What I didn't know, because I wasn't acting completely consciously at that point, what I didn't know until after I got in there was that her concept of privacy was that I would never be in the building after 7 at night and not at all on the weekends. Like,
don't be here, just pay me.
yeah.
I see. So let's go into what's going on the national front now with these eclipses. I know you have a few charts there.
Well, I want to
surprises.
just mention a few people who have some stuff coming up. And I'll just go through an overview, and if there's a chart you want me to go back to, I'll pull it out, because I got a big stack.
Where do you want to start?
I'm going to start with what's happening with this week's eclipse. This week's eclipse is activating Alvin Bragg's sun, and it's happening opposite his sun, meaning that it's lighting up, it's putting him in the spotlight, it's challenging him, but it's also shooting him away from some alliances, and it involves allies and open enemies.
Oh, so what sign is he?
He's a Libra.
Oh, that totally makes sense, doesn't it? So what does it mean? Like the alliances, what's happening with his alliances? Are they getting stronger?
And open enemies.
So both at the same time?
It's the same area, open enemies. Want me to add some initials?
Well,
so this might be about?
What's the difference between an open enemy and a closed enemy?
No, like a covert enemy, like someone who has not exposed himself as an enemy, but this is like an open, admitted enemy, all right? So this is a shooting forward time.
Are you giving us initials?
You know who it is. He whose name will be spoken.
Well, there's more than one, too.
That's true, but no, this is, well, okay, so this does, you're right, more than one. So this puts him in a new relationship with all the people coming at him. People showing up in his jurisdiction that don't have any authority here, holding hearings about whether there's crime in New York City or not.
That's crazy. That's just insanity.
Well, it's what it is. So all I'll say about this is Alvin Bragg has huge, like he has got a big shooting him off into the wild blue, guns blazing. So metaphoric, legal guns blazing.
Yeah, okay. Careful what you say here, right?
Yeah, I know. No. So he's getting his power up from this. Letitia James and Merrick Garland both get a massive power up in October. Now, part of why October is fascinating is that's when New York State's trial against the Trump organization is scheduled.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's right on her sun and her North Node. She's a Libra, big surprise. And it's conjunct North Node in Libra, which is her path forward. It's what she's supposed to be doing. It's her destiny. I would not get in her way.
So with this sun aspect, when someone has that going on, can that be positive or negative, or is it generally positive?
Well, something's going to leave, something about her visibility, something about her sense of herself, how she's working in the world will change radically and permanently. And I think it bodes incredibly well for shooting her on her predestined choice of what she's supposed to be doing. I mean, she's already been in the news quite a bit, but this is just a massive, and I find it not at all coincidental that is when that trial is scheduled.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the same eclipse is right on top of a configuration in Merrick Garland's chart that is Saturn, which is rules, authority, the law, being an adult, consequences, blah, 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 conjunct Neptune. Now, he has, I believe, almost like a religious drive in his work because of this. And I also see this as, and it's in an exact aspect to Trump's sun moon opposition and his nodal axis, which are part of it. I see this as a massive empowering of his putting the foot of government down on fraud.
I should have brought my bell. I usually ring the
That's a
bell when
bell?
I hear good news.
That's a bell.
Is Merrick Garland a Libra or a Scorpio?
He's a Scorpio, but he has stuff in Libra.
Yeah.
And this especially. So takeaway: the three prosecutors that everyone's focused on, that we have birth data for, all are getting really energized by the new cycle that we're moving into.
Nice.
So, ye of little faith, just, eat
Good
your
news,
comfort
people.
food,
Let's see
do
some
what you have to
applause
do.
in the chat. That's good news.
Now, one other thing I want to throw in, and we don't have to go down a rabbit hole about this, but just put this on your radar. This week's Aries new moon is really shaking things up for Russia. It's on
interesting.
It's on Russia's seventh house cusp. So that means that's the doorway to its house of allies and open enemies. Yeah, so NATO's bigger, stronger. Who knows what will happen with this? But at any rate, there's something, and you might consider the current leader of Russia an open enemy to his people. I don't know. I mean, that might be a.
Well, let me tell you. I don't know if you were. I don't think you were in the chat last night.
No.
I have the Psychic News Network every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Anyway, last night I decided to take it upon myself to literally read the tea leaves. So, because on MSNBC, they're always saying, well, we know we need to read the tea leaves or we can't read the tea leaves. And so I read the tea leaves and I saw a lot of positive military action, like, the good guys getting really strong. And
This is consistent with that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It just felt like almost an exponential buildup of the forces for good, which I saw as NATO. So that kind of checks out, huh?
It does, and I have a tea reading cup too. If you want
You
to
do?
tag team sometime, that would be fun.
Yeah. Let's do that next time.
I have
Astrology
a
and
house
tea
full of
leaves and
divination tools.
clairvoyant readings.
Anyway, the other thing I want to just throw out, I don't know what this means or how it's going to manifest. The eclipse is on Saudi Arabia's moon. The moon in a nation's chart represents the people. It can represent women. Who knows? Just watch that space. That's all I'm saying. Like in the next couple of years, something's going on there. Don't know what, we'll see. Okay, so that's all the forward motion stuff. Now there is big activity also involved with the resource related eclipses.
Yeah, you mentioned that word a few times so far. When you say resources, are you referring to like money, food supply, or
money, food supply, anything tangible that you can amass?
Economy.
All of those things.
Cool.
So, care to guess whose career is going through a shutting down moment in a huge way?
Are his initials DJT?
That's what I was talking about.
Or are we talking about on the world stage?
Clarence Thomas.
Oh, interesting.
Clarence Thomas. The eclipse that's coming up in May is right on his midheaven. And I think his south node, which is what he does, his behavior he goes to, his default behavior when under stress. And we can look at his chart in a bit if you want, because there's a lot of interesting celestial clockwork going on. But something's happening also in his marriage, and there's a determination point of late 2024 for a lot of things. I'm not saying he's going to be on the court that long, all right? That is not it at all, because the level of dirt and revelations that are coming out, mind blowing, and I expect there are probably more to come.
When I read on him, I literally have this image of him, like almost like at the top of a stairway, and just kind of like going down the stairs slowly until he kind of disappears. It's just like kind of slinking away. I'm feeling that like in the late summer.
I would not argue with that at all. Again, I can pull his. I mean, hold on. We're talking about him.
Oh, you don't even have it in front of you. I thought you had it.
No. I've got notes, but I've got his chart. Wait.
And as far as Ginny, I call them King Clarence and Queen Ginny. Last night I was reading on her, and I saw she was prone to massive anxiety.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that might be in her chart.
Oh, here's why you're picking up this summer.
Yeah, kind of late in the summer.
He has, and I have a timed chart for him. Okay, so the houses are actually, they're not just solar houses. They're here. He has Saturn and Pluto really close together, in his 7th house, which is partners, alliances, power, money, huge secrets. Venus is going to go retrograde over that this summer.
Relationship.
And here is how it's going to happen. In early July or so, Venus, which rules money, how we relate to people, relationships, women, how we express ourselves. So it's going to move over that Saturn, Pluto. I get big things that stoke my ego from huge hidden factors. Like I play with the upper echelon is essentially what this is. Right, and it's also a signature for dark money. And then Venus is going to go over it, and then she's going to retrograde at the end, 2/3 of the way into July. And in early August, she goes over it again, and then in September goes over it a 3rd time.
Whoa.
Stuff comes up from the past having to do with Venus-related things when Venus is retrograde. I would not be surprised if someone along the lines of Anita Hill version 2 shows up during this.
Well, it might be her again. By the way, you guys, see? I was right.
Could be.
Yeah, interesting.
But it will deal with money, and that could be, so that would tie with everything that's being ripped up now is inescapable, okay? All of this stuff, all these eclipse-related revelations about basically being in the collection of a major real estate developer. And can I just say, I have a connection to that family, and it's just weird to me.
You do? The Crow family?
Somebody I went to high school with was the first wife of the other son, the brother, who's now got like Epstein-related problems. Yes.
The Crow family?
Yeah, they're from Dallas. I'm from Dallas, so yeah.
Yikes.
I don't need 6 degrees. I don't need 6 degrees. I don't look for it, but it just happens.
Right. I'm real curious. Maybe next time we can look at the Supreme Court and what's going to happen with the Supreme Court, not just Clarence, who's kind of.
I've got tons of charts for them.
For each
and
person.
anyone who's interested, I do have a talk I did last year where I went through all of their charts. And if you're curious,
definitely
send me a message. It's not in my shop, but send me a message. I think I did it after.
How do we do that? How do we send you a message so people know?
If you go to empowermentunlimited.net, there is a contact form.
Okay.
You can fill it out.
Cool. I want Amy Coney Barrett. I want Brett Kavanaugh.
Got them all.
I want Clarence Thomas.
Got them all. Oh, cool. I would have thought, honestly, Thomas and Kavanaugh would be gone by now. So I've got Kavanaugh's chart.
There's
too,
a movie
so.
coming out.
Someday, some way.
I mean,
oh,
I don't
boy.
remember I don't know what it's called. There's one coming out about Jim Jordan.
Right. That one does have a streaming deal. The Kavanaugh one doesn't yet for reasons that don't make sense.
Okay,
anyway,
so stay tuned for that, everyone. Supreme Court charts.
Target time for Clarence, all right? Inescapable revelations. Now, massive stuff coming to light. People starting to, okay, it could be that in June, somebody starts really going after him to try to force action to get him off, and then more stuff comes up late in the summer. Then early next year, he's got real issues involving his heart.
I know. I've been seeing him having a heart attack. I wondered if he already had.
Well, it could be, but I mean metaphorically and physically.
Yeah. I think
and then
maybe
a target time for him. I mean, I think as of the end of 2025, he is not an issue.
Oh. He's not an issue, everybody.
That
could mean a number of things.
It could mean a number of things.
Yeah.
That he just might be off in his own personal bohemian grove forever and ever.
You're able to see that in a chart, right? You can see what I've heard from astrologers is that it's like there are certain times that there's a possible off ramp.
Well, yeah, his off ramp might just be that he goes off into he might go into dementia, actually.
Oh wow.
Or just fade and nobody sees him, which I think is likely.
I don't get that his health is very good.
How can anyone's health be good who lives under the stress of what a number of these people? How is our health any good?
Well, when you're that nasty for that long, it doesn't bode well for your health. So everybody heed that. Be grateful that you're nice. and saying he has a heart.
Oh, come on. I have a couple of more people that have stuff going on with the May eclipse. Care to hear?
Yeah.
All right. Merrick Garland actually has something really, really unlocking for him.
We hope it's positive.
Well, remember that he gets this massive power up in October. So,
right.
Just so there's going to be some connection between this general time period and then October, November in terms of what Merrick Garland is doing. So who knows? Maybe he's given a report and then he acts on it. I don't know. And for anyone who's wondering, we don't have a birth date that's at all reliable for Jack Smith, so I'm not looking at him.
He's such a mystery man. So when you look at Merrick Garland's chart, are you seeing what I see for him is like you wouldn't believe it how much he's doing with when I think of Merrick Garland, I just think the word precision. How much he's doing, how like closely stitched everything is, and just what a perfectionist. Like one time I described Merrick Garland as like if you're having tea with Merrick Garland, he would take the tea bag out and he would just like squeeze it for 3 seconds and put it on the side of the cup, right? Just like perfect, nothing out of place. And I just wonder
Mars
where that is.
In Capricorn.
Yeah, okay, that's very Capricornian.
Step by step by step.
Doesn't miss anything. There's no gaps. And so even though everyone's so impatient and, flipping out, he's not, he should be fired, he should be impeached. People are just really, understandably really impatient because we don't know how to wait for things, especially this long. But I just feel like whenever I tune it, it's like you would not believe the job that he's doing.
And we may get some evidence that it might not be that he wants it to come out fairly soon of just how big all of this is and what's been going on. Yeah. And then the giant foot comes down. I keep thinking of the very beginning of the first season of Monty Python. I don't know if anyone watched that when it was around a lot. There's a big TV set and this giant foot just comes down, squashes everything. That's what he's going to be doing.
That's what he's going to do? I like that idea.
Okay,
Just
I got some more.
squash them. Okay, who's next?
Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, yeah, I asked you for that, right? Last time? I think
Well,
last time I asked you for Kevin McCarthy and Margie Taylor Greene,
actually, you
who is
asked for
out of control. Let's see what people are asking.
Okay, Kevin
They're just
McCarthy.
saying hi.
Do you recall that, or for those of you who were or were not here last time, I have pointed out that Kevin McCarthy has a signature in his chart for being able to manifest massive amounts of resources.
Yeah,
money, support,
Right.
political backing, you name it. Huge amounts, and it's rooted in secretive things. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right now, Uranus is right smack on top of Jupiter in his chart, which is like the planet that all of it comes through, is
Yeah.
the bounty. So lightning is hitting
That
the,
seems disruptive.
the bounty, and the eclipse next month is ending a chapter in how he's been able to do things behind the scenes. There's
wow.
been talk, stuff's been leaked in the news about certain Republicans, I think Steve Scalise, wanting him ousted from the speaker's position. It could actually be happening with this. There could actually really be behind the scene machinations going on, and it all wraps up in terms of what this phase in his life means. It hits a oops, well, that's over by
Middle of June.
fall. Oh no, he could be out by then, but I mean in terms of
yeah.
he could be out of the speaker seat. It could be a two-step process, but his political
His political career will be over by October.
could be.
Yeah. I think something major, and just, psychically, I feel something major coming up really soon. Like breaking news, like we always have, right? Speaking of things going so fast and being so disruptive, I just feel like we're going to hear some big news about Kevin McCarthy next month, the end of next month, in June. He'll be ousted. My only concern is I don't know what would happen then. I'm going to say when he loses his speaker seat. Who's next? It's like, who's going to take that seat?
I'll just throw in Hakeem Jeffries has amazing transits this year.
I've seen him as speaker.
Moving more and more into authority. So
yeah.
Keep the faith.
Do you have his chart in front of you today, or?
I have it. Hold on.
I'm working you to death.
Obviously, I hate this, right? You can tell.
There's so many things to ask you.
I know, and I've got so much. Hold on, it's going to take me a minute. I know I have it here. While I'm looking for Hakeem Jeffries, let me tell you, Mitch McConnell. Two things about Mitch. One is that fall that he had that has kept him out of work.
Yeah.
Occurred as soon as Saturn moved into Pisces, and he has a very early Pisces sun. So Saturn rules bones. So that happened, knocked him out, and other things were going on that activated a long-standing wound for him. And I understand that he had polio as a kid. So there's something in here indicating that he was in the middle of talking and got distracted when he fell. Mm-hmm. Well, this is what's setting off Saturn's 3 years in Pisces. He is going to have a hell of a time getting physically over this. Right. And add to that Uranus, the little devil disruptor Uranus, is moving across he has Mars and Saturn conjunct in Taurus, which is digging his feet in, and I am the authority, and just pushing stuff through in a real bullheaded way. Well, lightning bolts going across that territory, and possibly affecting his speech.
Well, interesting that you would say that. And I think it's really fascinating to, sort of compare notes. Because when I just tune in clairvoyantly to Mitch McConnell now, it's like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Dianne Feinstein. I haven't really looked at that. But, I mean, I almost feel like he's going to be mentally something happened to his brain with that fall. I don't feel like he's all there. I feel like he's going through the motions. Like I heard him say something about the debt ceiling and the Biden administration better cooperate about raising the debt ceiling. And I was like, I almost feel like he's just saying things off the cuff, like just, oh, maybe I should say this. I don't feel like he's all in there.
And
mentally.
that fits what's happening astrologically.
Yeah.
And the way this has anything to do with the eclipses is that the final eclipse, the one that ends this 2.5-year review of money and resources and corruption and God knows what. So this whole thing ends, the closing ends on his moon, which could be his wife being a factor, which could be emotionally, he just packs it in. So that's this fall. So I will not be surprised with this. I think he's going to have a very hard time continuing to even be ambulatory. I mean, he's been out in rehab for a long time. And so.
I was surprised he came back, honestly, because that's how bad I felt the fall was. Well, like, he's probably in denial.
Could well be.
Yeah.
All right. During all that, I pulled out Hakeem's chart. So, stuff about him. Well, so really active times. Many jolts starting in mid-June, going through April 2024, that are just energizing and activating his leadership potential.
So when you say jolts, is that Uranus stuff?
Yeah, Uranus is going to be unlocking things and going back and forth, and it's like almost there now. So right about the June timeframe, something could have already happened. I mean, yeah, he already is in a position of authority, but there's more coming. And this is also tied to stuff that will be happening in October. So who knows? I have thought ever since last November, ever since the midterms happened on a lunar eclipse with Uranus right smack on it, I thought, and Uranus was retrograde, I thought things are gonna flip from the way they look. And I will confess, my perspective was, oh, we barely lost the House. People are going to leave. The Dems are going to get the House. Well, instead, what's happening is, certain Dems are saying that, oh no, we're really Republican, and they're jumping ship. And
are you referring to Kirsten and Joe, or like?
No. This has been happening on the state level. That there are a couple of people who were elected to state houses, and they have, by flipping to the GOP, they've given the GOP a supermajority. I think North Carolina is one of them. Anyway, it still could be happening. It still could be happening in the House, and as that happens, I honestly think, just given what's happening astrologically, that the makeup of the House will be different well before the 2024 elections, and that the majority will flip to the Dems, and that Hakeem Jeffries will be.
That's consistent, and I see Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House. I really see that clearly. Some things, you know how it is. Like some things jump out at you, and like, no, that feels like a definite. And some things are like, could kind of go this way or that way. But that Hakeem being Speaker really feels strong to me, and the Dems taking over the House feels really strong to me too. And I attribute that to these investigations.
Well, it's all one big cluster, all right? You can't just credit one thing. So yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right with that. And Jeffries has a couple of, from different directions, really positive Saturn transits going on right now, or really like, and Saturn in the sky is moving across his north node of destiny. So like and it's going to be back and forth 3 times this year. It's already passed over it once, which is consistent with, by the end of the year, him being in a much elevated position. And there will be moves this summer, early June, mid-June, to really push him forward.
Which is around the time I feel Kevin McCarthy falling. Right. That's consistent. Is there an aspect that you see that jumps out that on someone's chart if they're a leader? There must be something that's
Well,
indicative
for
of
that, you look at what's going on with Saturn in their chart and how well
Okay.
they get along with authority, including their own authority, like how they step into responsibility.
So you can look at someone's chart and go, whoa, you're going to be a leader, or it's favorable for you to be in a leadership position.
Right. Well, it's also a choice because everything has a spectrum of possibilities that it could play out. So for something to show up as leadership, there will be several things coming at it in different directions to push in that, like, okay, express it this way. But someone else could say, I'm going to define my entire life by rebelling against authority, which makes authority really important. But it's because
Right.
you're emphasizing it by, being a jerk or playing with the
Right.
cops all the time or something.
But if somebody wanted to be a leader and you looked at their chart and you could see the aspects that, yeah, you'd succeed at that, or you have the talents for that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, or it will pay off if you keep applying because
Right.
Saturn is an influence of just keep working.
And you keep plugging away. Be patient.
You will get you'll get your rewards if
Yeah.
you've been a grown up, and if you don't, we both have this.
It is
Yeah,
definitely Saturn is the test.
And then it's the cosmic 2x4. Oh, you screwed up? Well, here we go. Bam.
It's true. So stay on your right path, everyone. So many things I want to ask you. I know that we've talked about Trump's chart before, but just a little recap on, I'm sure you've seen some major glaring events or things that are coming for him.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear the good news.
Here is, got a couple of ways of looking at it. Hold on, here we go. I'm analog. I need pieces of paper and I scribble on them.
Oh, I love books and actual paper.
The way I work.
Writing with a pencil.
Okay, first thing, there's a really uncomfortable contact right now between Uranus in the sky and Uranus in his chart, and it's unavoidable. It's something you cannot escape. No matter what you do, it's going, needle.
That's why he's acting like a caged animal. Do you see anything that indicates that he's mentally, that there might be dementia or mentally
well, now,
off?
Interesting you say that.
Because I do.
Okay. During the whole time, like a year before, whenever he started the if I lose, the election's going to be stolen thing, he launched that way in advance. All right. During that whole time, Neptune, the cosmic fog machine, was in a really harsh relationship with his sun-moon opposition. He has the sun in Gemini, exactly opposite the moon in Sagittarius, which is changeable, 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 changeable. Don't pin me down. And they're in the signs of, they're in communication signs. So this is just verbal salad. And it's spewing. So when Neptune squared both ends, it just, he could have become, if he had made different choices all of his life, this could have been a spiritual awakening for him. But instead, it just upped the pressure of the lies and lies and lies and lies and lies and doubling down. And there's some evidence from people that at a couple of moments he indicated an awareness that what he was saying was not true, or that the facts were different than what he was saying, but he's still doubling down on it, and he may completely believe it at this point. I don't know.
I think so.
But here's what's wonderful about this. Saturn is now in the sign that Neptune has been in for years, and it's not going to catch up. They aren't going to meet, but it's really slowly coming up on the territory that Neptune has been in. So it's operating as the cleanup batter. And in about a year and a half, it will be occupying exactly where Neptune was when all of this lie stuff started.
So the lie stuff started really in 2016.
So now consequences coming.
Wow,
inescapable.
that's a Saturnian long haul. And
But
then now I just comparing notes. I don't see him in a presidential campaign, even though his hat's in the ring and he's like, I don't know, he's the nominee potentially. People are saying he's a nominee, and I don't see it. I don't, just like Ron DeSantis, he's not running for president, and Trump is, he threw his hat in the ring and filled out the paperwork apparently, but I don't see him running for president, which is, I'm at odds with everything that I hear, from mainstream news.
I'm with you.
So I don't know if that's in the chart. Like maybe he won't. He'll just drop out.
The current Mercury retrograde is forcing a redo of all kinds of business and legal and international things for him. Whoa. So the information flow is not going to shut down, and the eclipse is in the chart that everybody uses in his house of legalities and international things, in the chart that his second wife says is the accurate one, which is a slightly earlier birth time, it's right smack on his midheaven. So we'll see, which is like blowing it up, much as Clarence Thomas is having. So
interesting.
Well, I mean, it's on his nodal, it's on the axis. At any rate, because anyone's watching, they're going to go, "Wait, you just missaid that." But while this is all happening, Neptune in the sky, cosmic fog machine, deception, fraud is in an unfettered flow to his signature for money, family money, Trump organization money, money involving women, money involving deals with governments. It's just like right there.
Wow.
So in a way that it has not been during our lifetime. So good luck not having it exposed. And it does seem to involve it either birth times. It does involve the money aspect. In the chart that everybody uses, it involves organizations, which would be, and kids, that would be the Trump organization.
Yeah.
And the other time it's in the house of criminality and secret deals. So
I think that he's penniless or on his way to being penniless.
Well, the illusion of his money is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's been broke for a very long time.
I would agree with that.
Crazy stuff.
Very crazy stuff. And yet his supporters have banners up across the street from where I live.
But they're lessening, I would think.
One came down. One.
Just keep projecting. Imagine them blotted out. Yeah, I think people will be coming to their senses, but I really do. I think enough people will be coming to their senses. But I am curious to look at his chart again next time a little bit.
Always. I will say that the October Libra solar eclipse does hit his Jupiter, good fortune, planet of expansion, in Libra, agreements in his money house. So things always leave.
Right, and he can't campaign without money.
Nope. But just to, we were talking about how intense it is with all of the Aries energy. Let's just recap. In the month of April, it starts with him getting arrested and arraigned and charged. And then he has to take a deposition with Letitia James. And then he's got this trial starting that a judge is refusing to postpone.
Next week.
The rape trial. And he's continuing to and different subpoena fights are they're just falling. Stuff's happening with Fox, the defamation suit involving Dominion voting systems. All of this, it just is building. Heights 57 might have a run on ketchup. I don't know.
That's great. So we're winding down a little bit. So fascinating. We have people in the chat that are really appreciating what you have to say and saying we all had suspicions he was broke. Yeah. Damon says
it's illusion. It's
he's
illusion.
A con man. Yeah, he's saying he's a con man. Damon saying New Yorkers knew this. Kind of curious for next time we talk, which I'd like to do this again in a couple of weeks, like around the time of the next eclipse, the lunar eclipse. So maybe that week.
We will talk.
So before we go, I mean, I don't know if you can look at when New York was officially born, but I'm kind of curious about New York.
I will
and
get
Trump.
that chart.
Yeah,
there is a chart for that.
So I'd like to know more about New York, and I'd also like to know more about Marjorie Taylor Greene and, you know, what's going on with her in Russia. Giving you some teasers for the next show, everybody. So before we go, thank you, everybody, for showing up. Please share this video. Do you have any words of wisdom for us personally going into this eclipse?
This is one of those, if you've had something kicking around the back of your mind that you've wanted to do, just dare. Just do it. Just
goody.
Take chances. Take chances. Yeah, I actually quote in my forecast for this new moon, I mentioned a quote that's often attributed to Goethe. It may or may not really be by him, but who knows? And it is anything you dream or anything you do or dream you can do,
just do it. Yeah, do it.
Boldness has genius, power, and magic to it. That is this week.
Go
that is this time.
Yeah, that's a great quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. Goethe, I think that's how you say the name.
No, Goethe.
Yeah, what?
It's Goethe.
It's good. It's a good quote.
I used to live in Germany, so
it's excellent. So let's go for it, everyone. No more excuses. To reach you, I'm kind of having this idea popping into my mind that how cool would it be if we joined forces and somebody we could do like a package where, and we can talk about that off camera, where they get an astrology reading, maybe a half an hour, and also a psychic reading. So we can talk about that. We'll see.
We can talk about that.
Damon likes it. We got lots of thumbs up in the chat. So yeah, we'll talk about that next time. And whatever that day is, the Tuesday of the first week in May, that must be the 2nd, I think. Want to shoot for that?
I think I'm fine that day.
Okay, yes. Same time, so we'll say that tentatively, but mark your calendar in pencil. And if you want to reach me for a reading, it's psychic@dion.com. If you want to reach Kathy for a reading, it's... Go ahead.
Several places you can find me. My site is empowermentunlimited.net, like safety net. My YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. I have a Patreon where I explain all kinds of things that are going on. And it's patreon.com/Kathy Biehl. And it tends to have lots of navigational tools. Like, here's what's happening and here's what to do with it. I'm still on Facebook because I just am. And my page there is Empowerment Unlimited. And I have a group, the Astro Insight Lounge, that discusses current events in terms of astrological symbolism. And there's lots of political stuff there.
Great. And we can maybe get Andrew, our friend here, to put all your information in the description. Can send that to him.
I will send it to him.
And I think that's a wrap. So
always
thank
fun.
you.
Oh.
What? The dragon saying good night or good day. And we'll do this again real soon. And this is Spirit Talk Podcast. And once again, my website is psychic@dion.com. And we'll talk about the dual package thing. That'd be fun.
Would be.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Namaste, everybody. See ya.